The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford hits on every trope the Western genre can offer, from train robberies to morality stretched thin enough to cover Missouri's vast plains, and a hauntingly natural voiceover by Hugh Ross. But said tropes are executed so masterfully, you might feel like you're experiencing them for the first time. Oh, the picture might also contain the most original take on a Mexican standoff in cinema history. A 43-year-old Brad Pitt injects understated wisdom and an explosive temper into the 34-year-old Jesse James, but the standout performance comes from Casey Affleck, who brings the coward Robert Ford to life with his signature blissful charm. This is a stellar cast, and the James gang alone has enough star power to rival a modern Avengers movie. At 2 hours and 40 minutes, this is a meticulous telling of an incredibly layered and twisted tale of worship, envy, and betrayal that ends exactly as advertised. The ever-evolving score reflects the sound of an adult lullaby and is a constant reminder that Robert Ford's motivations are founded in the nickel books he read about Jesse as a boy. I'm joined now by a man with a true appetite for greatness, and I couldn't be more honored to have him here in the jungle with me today. Mr. Billy Wayne Davis. Hey Billy, do you name your snakes before you eat them?
I don't think it's a good idea.
I'm a big burger guy, but I don't usually name them before eating them.
I don't know. No, you give something a personality, then you eat it. That's weird. There's some themes you should talk about with your therapist for sure if you need to put a personality behind what you're eating.
A lot of layers in that one little detail. I'm curious, was this your first time seeing the film for the show, or had you seen it before?
It was like 2007 when it came out, right?
Yep, that's right.
I remember watching it and thinking like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Do you know when you watch something that's like way better than you think it's going to be and you're like, nope, can't digest this right now. I remember rewatching it for this and being like, I've seen parts of this before. And then being like, oh, I remember what happened where I thought it was going to be like a simple. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, this is like a masterpiece. So, nope.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it comes out in 2007, which there's a ton of Westerns that come out that year. I mean, this whole episode is basically about that. I think this really kind of flies under the radar.
Well, No Country for Old Men's like one of my favorite movies. But rewatching this, it was like I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to rewatch this like a couple times because you're like, oh, this is like art.
And both movies shot by the great Roger Deakins, so fun connective tissue there. But we'll get more into that when we do visual storytelling. Billy, I know this is your first time on the show. We get into 5 different categories we'll talk about on the movie. The first one is plot. This is this is not a short movie. It's definitely, I think, again, it clocks in at about 2 hours and 40 minutes.
No, I'm aware. Yeah, I'm very aware of. It is. That would be my only critique. I do understand why it is so long. Like harsh critique. Everything else would be just be like, well, but like it's long.
Yeah. It's if you've got 3 hours to kill, it's probably a good thing to do. But it really does just take its time to tell, again, a story that hits on all the classical tropes of a Western. So I don't want to say it's predictable because it plays out in ways I don't think you could predict. But at the same time, there's a little bit of a like, hey, let's get on with it. I don't know. I felt that way a little bit while watching it.
Well, there is that Moby Dickness about it, which is part because they're also using this whole movie is using many like you said, you mentioned the tropes, but also many storytelling devices like layered upon layered. That's why I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to rewatch this a couple times. You know, like the way they use music and the way they just pull it back. You're like, oh, but it's also, I'm not saying cut it to 2 hours.
Sure.
I'm saying there's like probably 15 minutes that don't need to be in there. Not 40, but like 15. There's like a couple things where I'm like, I think you guys probably fell in love with these couple things because it was like fun and cool. And as a storyteller, I do understand not wanting to. Like, is it that important? You're like, I wish it. I know it's not, but in my heart it is. And right now I'm really attached to this. So we're going to add this 15 minutes. Everyone did a really good job on it. I do get that. It reminded me of like, oh, times were slow. So you can get oddly, I guess fascinated is the right word, with things.
You could really just sort of fixate on what they're
That's what dude did.
what I'm hearing, what you're saying, it establishes a pace that it keeps. You're a comedian, pacing is sort of everything, especially when you're doing maybe a longer set. And this movie is a long set. So I hear what you're saying, where you don't want to change that too much because then you lose something. But at the same time, you do have to consider the overall experience. And yeah, I think 15 minutes would
There's a
probably
lot of time to overthink back then too.
sit around the campfire and consider.
But overthink with a lack of education, which is an interesting disposition.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite side of the spectrum of modern society where you have underthinking with overwhelming over information sort of constantly being put in front of you.
Yes.
They're on the opposite end
Yes.
where they're overthinking with an extreme lack of information and a lack of access to information, more importantly to the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And then with the similar themes of fame and this idea of who someone is and then who they really, it's kind of Selena's situation too.
There you go. Yeah, there's a connection.
I just kept thinking that the whole time. Was like, I don't know why this keeps, but it is like it's like your biggest fan is like, you're not who
Yeah,
uh
wow. No, that's a fascinating connection. I love that. Please let us know in the comments if there's any other Selena connections to the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford that we're missing. Billy, I got to get a grade out of you. 1 out of 10 for the plot specifically.
probably 8. So there's like a personal Jesse James antidote. I went to Western Kentucky University for 2 or 3 years. I don't remember before I quit. And there was this cave in town, and I'm sure people in the comments will be like, "It's this the name?" And sure, I forget the name of it. They throw parties down there. There used to be like a jazz club or some kind of stupid shit, you know, before TV and all the fun stuff happened. Like
Yeah.
when like people were kind of drunk all the time. They're like, "Let's do," and it's dangerous even now because it gets like wet because it's a cave. But Jesse James supposedly had to hide out there for like a bit, when he was doing his stuff. And I just remember thinking, it's not cool. That would suck to have to be like, this sucks. Even in those like early 20s, like college years when everything is like fucking awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Even then, I was like, the reality of that just sounds like you're stuck in this goddamn cave and no one's looking for you.
Yeah, very different when you don't have recreational drugs or alcohol or a boombox and you're on the lam from
Yeah, you're just like carrying this loot, but you're like kind of hiding too. And you're just like, what'd you do? And you're like, I was in a cave for 3 days. And you're like,
Yeah,
how was it? You're like, it sucked. It's a cave.
there's a reason
Yeah.
we don't do that anymore.
And if I came out of it, people were going to put me in jail or kill me. So I was like, this is the life I'm living. Isn't it cool? My name's alliteration. People love that.
We're talking a lot about Jesse James. The next category is characters and performances. Uh, what did you think of Brad Pitt's portrayal of Jesse James?
I think that motherfucker, if he's so handsome, it's a detriment. He's really good at acting.
I can confirm.
Like he's really, really good. Y'all got to give him like a legit tip of the hat eventually. I'd say he's like a Derek Jeter because it's like he's steady great. He doesn't fuck up a whole lot, and when he does, it's still kind of like, yeah, you get one every now and then, man. You're a fucking human. He humanized the lunatic, but lunatics are humans, which I think is like the mistake a lot of actors make. They become untethered with the lunacy. But
Mhm.
like it's like Heath Ledger is believable as the Joker because there's just like a part of him where you're like, seems like a real dude.
This humility that he kind of I don't humility isn't the right word. There's almost like a burden that I feel like Brad Pitt brings to the character. He's almost over it. He kind of wishes he didn't have to do it anymore. And I think that bubbles up in this sort of temper that kind of just bubbles over at little points, which reminds you this is a really dangerous guy. But otherwise, yeah, he does seem like somebody of the entire gang, maybe the person you trust the most, maybe the person you want to spend the most time with.
Well, that's charisma. That's all that I mean, that is that like he's one of the few actors that can pull off that character. And Casey Affleck's amazing as the little Weasley fucker. He also is so good and charismatic, like Casey is, that you're just like they're not playing archetypes necessarily either, which is kind of what's fascinating. The Brad Pitt character to me is their Jesse James. It's like you said, they all kind of trust him, but there's also like they don't trust him. They all fear him.
Yeah, that's a good distinction to make.
He is disarming. To me, that part was fascinating because like anyone that I've met, it's like a true criminal in their life, and you come across them in life if you're paying attention. There's like people are like, well, that's your line of work, and you're like, nah, it's any line of work. From what I can tell, is there's criminals in every, but the ones that are like proper criminals, they have a way of shifting the energy in a room that he nails.
Yeah.
Who's the director? Andrew Dominik. I love Killing Them Softly. I think it is the way they do violence in that movie is similar to this, so it makes sense. Where I talk about this sometimes, not on stage, but like with just in conversation with people, and most of the time, real violence is kind of quiet and quick, unsettling more than explosive, or do you know what I mean?
No, I do. It's
And they do that well in this, where with it, I mean, leading up when he shoots him, it's like that melodramatic music, and then boom, real life hits to where no, there's no life in that man anymore. He is dead. He's on the floor. This is what's happened, and then this is like a cold, fucking weird. It's an insanely, it's wild because it's like how because of marketing and all the money and all that, where it's like something this wonderful can get underlooked
yeah,
and missed. When you like the actors that kept showing up too, you're just like, yeah, god damn.
that's right. Yeah, no, it's an incredible cast, and everybody really, really delivers. Even their own perspective of fear towards Jesse, like they all look at him in a little bit of a different way, and it's kind of like a group of kids looking up to their dad or a coach or something.
Well, it's like a Peter Pan situation with the gang. Yeah, that part is interesting too because the gang situation. Because you don't think about the gang when you think about him, but you're like, oh yeah, you couldn't just do this by yourself. They get you. You need a crew. Also, if you're just kind of doing this by yourself, like no one knows who you are after a while. You're just this weird dude that just kind of, you're a drifter that kills people and gets what he wants, and then eventually someone will get you back. I think what you said was interesting. They all have a different relationship with him, and what they want from him is different. And the fame aspect of it, to me, is what's more interesting than the criminal aspect. That's why most of them are there, is there's like a charisma and a fame and excitement, because they could just be doing the criminal shit anywhere.
There's a
You
desire
know,
to be there.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're the Rolling Stones, man. You know what I mean?
Well, and
So,
how much of that dynamic is do you think, especially as a, professional performer, is that an analogy for what it's like to kind of be a young performer? Robert Ford comes up reading these books, he idolizes Jesse. He wants to get into the business. He kind of is just happy to do what he has to do, and doesn't really mind twisting his morals and breaking some laws. I mean, breaking a lot of laws, but for the sake of the analogy, and I feel like the way it plays out and how it ends with his attempt to get fame and how the audience in the movie kind of eventually resents him. I don't know, feels like it's an analogy for unfortunately the path a lot of performers go down.
not even performers. Because I mean, I chased a wild dream before I started doing stand up. It was like I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player. I think when I watched it, there's that part of being like, he got mad at what it was. I understand that emotion. I do. I think that helped me because of what I saw, like high level sports and baseball was, what it like really was. And it was a bummer. I couldn't articulate it then. I think I can now in a way, but it was like, and I was mad at baseball for a little bit.
Sure.
Like couldn't watch it really. Didn't even process why. Do you know what I mean? Just like, nope,
Just walked away. Yeah.
just can't do that right now. Play a little softball, dominate. Uh, uh, dominate so much. I was like, this is dangerous. I don't need to be doing this anymore. I think that lent itself, like understanding our perception and what our delusions and what we want it to be, what we want these things to be, and what they are. As you can see, some people handle that differently. That, and I don't know it, and then to me it does, because when you're young it feels like disappointment, and that's a bummer. You don't want to, and as a parent you're constantly trying to show them new things, and then like that is one of the tougher things about getting older is like things aren't new anymore, so people have a hard time with that, which is not true. You just have to go do new stuff. People are dumb anyway. But that young energy,
Hmm.
and then mixed with also ego, which is like, I want to be the same thing. And then it is an interesting cocktail of what, when all those things are being cooked, what can happen.
That is such a interesting part of the human experience, loving something and being passionate about something and then chasing a dream. And it's so easy to just, label something as black and white. Someone failed or they succeeded, they could or they couldn't do it. But a lot of people just similar to your experience, they realize this isn't what I thought it was. And it can be really frustrating and it can be really upsetting because, again, it's for a lot of people what they build their identity around, or at least for a portion of their life. So, yeah, that's really impactful. And I think this movie does a really good job of articulating that. So
Well, that identity, like people have a hard time when their sense of identity gets crushed. And you're
yeah.
like, fuck. But I was this, and this was like, and you're like, yeah, I know, I've been there. It is a bummer and a half. But what's interesting is like Jesse was trapped in it. So there's like I saw parallels to like Hunter S. Thompson, in that he was trapped in a lot of like this like character he created. I think he's a great spirit animal. I don't think he's a great hero. And I think people miss that dude a lot, like miss the point of him a lot. The world's pretty simple when you break it down. So you can make a lot of metaphors, especially as a Southern person, an analogy. My favorite book is Hell's Angels, because he goes in wanting those motherfuckers to be so cool and awesome, and they're in like what they stand for, and it does sound cool and awesome. And then he had to fucking reckon with who they actually were and what they actually stood for, and they beat the fuck out of him when he called him out for it too.
Yeah.
I mean, the other ones, he's an incredible writer. Don't get me wrong, the other novels were fucking amazing, but that one was the most powerful to me as a human being, because he had to be like, son of a, they suck. And we've all had to do that. We've all had this perception of what this is, what this is, what this is. And then some people don't react well and some people stay in it. But I also understand, I mean, there is a very human element to Jesse James that he brings there. And I think Brad Pitt understands it because he's also Brad Pitt. And that there's this myth that does bring you a certain lifestyle that is nice. And then there's the human and the person, and where if you don't know where that line is, it's haunting.
And that human has to deal with the repercussions of that character, the myth. Well, let me get a score for characters and performances out of you. 1 out of 10. What would you give the characters? I'm going to assume
I would
pretty
say
high
nine.
marks. Yeah.
Nine. I mean, it's when you're watching it, because of what I do, I think there's a couple times where I pull myself out where I was like, fuck. Even that was because I was already in watching, and you're like, oh, these guys are real, because I don't see them act, and I
Right.
see a lot of motherfuckers acting now. That once
Oh
you
yeah.
start studying it or trying to do it, and I'm not saying I'm good at it, I'm just saying once you study stuff, you start seeing stuff,
Oh yeah.
and that is the testament. Is when you're watching something, you're like, oh, they're good, they're really good, because I'm just sitting here watching. Yeah,
Well,
these are famous people too that you're watching. You're like, I forgot that's dipshit. That is
and yeah, a whole
Mary Louise Parker. Yeah, I
what an
love
icon.
her. I love her.
Well, that brings us to visual storytelling. We mentioned
I
earlier.
don't know her. She could be a nightmare, but I love the lady she plays in Weeds, and a lot of her characters I really like. I love her
Parker.
work, is what I should say.
Let us
Someone
know if
like,
she's a
she
kid or
stabs puppies. You're like, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But when she's on the screen, I have a kind of a crush on her.
well, I appreciate the sentiments and align with them. Let us know again in the comments if your dog was attacked by Mary Louise Parker.
Yes, please.
The cinematographer I mentioned earlier is the great Roger Deakins, who also did No Country for Old Men, which also came out this year. Kind of unbelievable.
I mean, he didn't film them all. You know what I mean? That's not
Oh,
how it works.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's not like he was
But it does,
yeah,
like, if
pulling
you're
double.
not versed in that, it does sound just like, how in the fuck? That's exhausting. Masterpieces in 1 year, and I'm tired.
Yeah, he just rode horses from set to set and with a camera on his back.
What movie? It doesn't matter. There's some dude on a horse. And look how pretty and wide it is. You're like, yep, you did it. You know it.
Well, he was definitely cooking, and this. But what's interesting is because we talked about these other movies, No Country for Old Men. We're talking about the Assassination of Jesse James. They all have distinctly different styles while still being westerns and taking place at various time frames, but same landscapes and things. And this movie has this sort of what I would call almost this like overcast to it. This sort of like bluish kind of I don't know. It's hard for me to think of a scene where there's ever just a sunny day or direct sunlight, and everything is muted and soft, sort of light.
Melancholy.
Yeah, yeah, melancholy.
Well,
And
that's what it is. Everything, if you're on the constant run, that's how I felt in that fucking cave. Is like you're not like uncomfortable, in peril. And so I can relate to this. Here's the Southern person. In me. Like I traveled most of my adult life. That's what the stand up comedian does. There were certain points where, like, after my divorce, I lived on the road, which sounds like you're homeless, and you kind of are, but you're not really. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's like probably a couple of days you're like, technically, yeah, I was like, I lived in this rental car, kind of. You know what I mean? Where it's just like,
right, you're just in transit so much.
but by the end of that experience, I think it's just a testament to like that dude's a genius, because it is one of those when people have those discussions about movies and stuff, and they're like, well, they can just put a so and so and put them in there and they can do it. And you're like, I wish it was
Right.
but you got to understand, like, they put up with a lot of like shenanigans from these people because they're insanely talented at this, like, this crazy thing. And it is like, when you think of like when you hear the word, oh, he's like a good cinematographer, director of photography, and how hard can that be? And you're like, it's surprisingly,
It's a lot more than framing up a shot.
yes, the way that man can make the camera move and then light a real space,
Oh,
that's insane.
if you'll indulge me, in one of our earlier episodes, we were talking Arrival, and we bring up something called the Kuleshov effect, which is taught in a lot of film schools. And it's basically the idea is you can just kind of juxtapose various images, and the audience will inject psychology. They will decide, oh, if you put a bowl of soup and a man next to it, they're going to assume the man is hungry. But good cinematography is the opposite of that. And that's what we're talking about. It's not just about creating beautiful images, which is difficult. It's not just about creating beautiful images where things can move around in it, but it's also about creating beautiful images that can then be put next to each other sequentially for 2 hours and 40 minutes and consistently hold a pace that doesn't deviate. All of that pacing is a marriage between edit and the footage they capture, which I think is what the cinematography truly is. It's that marriage between those things.
We were like, oh, this is awesome. And it's like, and I'm going to promote my last special,
Please.
Testify.
The link is in the description, by the way.
Please watch it. I wrapped this weird, trippy art thing. I wrapped a stand-up special in a trippy art DMT thing. And it's because of my director, John Diaz. His brain is better than mine, but it works like mine. And he was like, hey, could we do this, this, and this? And I was like, sure, yeah. Do you know? And he was like, yeah, I know how to do this, this. And I was like, he knew how to do these things that I was trying to convey. And there were a couple of things where I was like, I mean, this makes me pretty vulnerable. But at first I was like, no. And then I was like, oh, well, that's what we're doing here. And that makes me, okay.
Hey, dude. Hey, do you not see these people here? That's my bad. I was having a real nice moment. I get it. There's certain words I shouldn't say. Makes people uncomfortable. Like, my wife is Jewish. Just saying that, people are like, hey, easy. how the accent sounds. I'm aware. It sounds dumb. I get it. It's a scam. We're all running. Okay, here's how small the town I'm from is. When I was in 5th grade, my older cousin went to a field party, got in a fight, and killed a dude. In high school, the dead dude's sister asked me to the prom.
When you watch something as good as this fucking movie is, it just frustrates me when you see something that's great and you're like, I just think we're really caught up in the wrong shit so much.
Yeah.
Not even to make this political, just more like from an art standpoint, we're just like, it's what makes it special too.
No, that's true.
Because you work on a lot of garbage, and not necessarily garbage, but like
but stuff that isn't made with the same intention. I mean, you touched on it. I mean, there's always a mountain to climb anytime there's a production. But yeah, I think this movie, the people behind it wanted to make sure it was made, and it comes through. There's a passion, and
Quincy Jones talks about like he's like, sometimes God's in the room, in the studio when things are being made, and sometimes it's not. He's not even in there. It's like he's not even on the. And I was like, I know what he means. And that's what this feels like. It's also cool to see like power fucking actors who can command the whole screen anytime they want. Being like, I want to be in this ensemble acting with that motherfucker who may be the only motherfucker who can make me disappear on camera. There's some of that where you watch some of that where you're like, oh, whoa, that's cool. Because I think Sam Rockwell may be pound for pound the best actor of.
Sure.
They do that thing. You've like this generation of, however they measure
that ranking. Yeah.
Him and Gary Oldman to me go and do things where I'm just like,
right. Who saw that coming? Yeah.
What the fuck? It's like the only other person that can kind of do that is like Denzel.
Sure.
As the lead, he can do different stuff where you're just like, that's fucking amazing. Brad Pitt is also, but like,
yeah,
I think Sam Rockwell, like what he
can hit every note and in different ways. He
can embody, like his body looks different.
He acts with every part of himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure off screen is like the tough talent to manage. It's like some of those musicians that do heroin that are really good. It's like, I wish you wouldn't, but I'm
at the same time. Yeah.
Grateful that you do.
Visual storytelling, 1 out of 10. What
10.
would you give?
10. Well, let's do 9.
Oh, okay. 9.5? We can throw a 0.5?
Yeah, let's do 9.5. Because there's like, well, I guess visual 10. No, I'll go 10.
Going back to 10. I watch a lot of movies here on the show. I've watched a lot of stand-up comedy specials. We're going to do an episode later in the season all about comedy specials. I have seen your special, and I don't mind saying, I wouldn't say this just because you're here. It is really, really great. The link is in the description of this episode, but everybody really should check it out. It's one of the better specials I've seen, especially in recent years, because it is really inventive and it's out there and it's funny and it's different from any comedy special you're going to see. So
we thought we would do something weird because it's different and that's what people wanted, and we were very wrong about that. It is like if you stick through the weird part, there is a wonderful stand-up special in the middle of the weird stuff.
It's so funny. But even when you say weird,
it's not that weird, but
it's good weird. It's different.
You and I aren't. True. Our brains aren't 9 to 5.
True.
Like, and I'm not saying that in a detrimental, like, no judgment of anyone else's brain. But yes, I'm very proud of it. The people that do find it and that they do love it. And I think this fits. I also understand. I have to tell my ego that sometimes it's like, we're not for everyone.
Right.
Come on, I like it. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, but they're also like, you're also challenging people a little bit too the whole time. I'm like, yes, people don't like that. I don't get it.
A lot of people go to comedy like they go to a vending machine. They want some junk food. So when you throw something healthy in there, sometimes they don't always like it, but that doesn't mean you can't have a delicious
I
healthy
just
snack.
spice it so good that you don't even know it's healthy.
Exactly.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do. Like, now I used to not spice it as well, and sometimes right, I think he's yelling at us right now.
Yeah.
Like I am yelling at you guys. But now I've been cooking long enough. I know how to be like, is this? I'm like, it's good for you too. And you're like, no shit. I'm like, I know. I can't believe it.
No, I can testify
I'm
that
like sweet potatoes. How about that?
is great.
Sweet potatoes are great for you, and the whole time you're like, these can't be good for you.
Speaking of sweet potatoes, that brings us to use of sound on the Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. Very interesting choice. I mentioned in my open, it's kind of like a lullaby that sort of plays throughout. It's very methodical.
Melancholy.
Yeah, it's melancholy, absolutely.
Yes. It's the whole time you're just like, fuck.
It's
Even
just
when things are good, you're like, it's gonna not be good. And you're like, yeah, because all the stuff the reason there is a metaphor and the music does a great job of like, if you don't deal with the things, they're gonna
sure.
be there.
It's always just kind of it's like a shadow, the music in this movie.
It's like a symphony
Yeah.
because there's a lot of working parts rocking together, which is like, come on. You ever had a group dynamic? It's insane.
You kidding me? You ever try to get more than three people to decide what they want to have for lunch, let
It
alone
is
score a film? Yeah.
fucking nightmare to be. Hey, you all want to do the thing we want to do? And everybody's like, yeah. I'm like, how about we do this? Nope. Nope. God damn it.
I am literally the mascot for a production company, so yeah, preach, brother. Well, is that a 10 then for use of sound? Would that be? I mean, it sounds like a pretty
9 because of like I said, there was like a couple times where I was like, huh. But if I rewatch it, I'm probably gonna be like, I know why they did that. I wasn't paying attention to that. And so I'll give it a 10. This movie's one of those where, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't ready for how good it was when I put it on years ago. You want it to be taken. You know what I mean? Where it's like you can go into the kitchen and get some
yeah,
queso and then come back and you're like, what happened? You're like, it doesn't fucking
yeah.
matter. It
You
doesn't.
don't have to pause for a bathroom
Still
break.
trying to
Yeah,
find that lady. Oh, this is like a daytime movie.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
You got to lock in. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
one of those movies. If you walk in the room and someone's watching it, if you sit down, you're probably not getting up for the rest of the movie.
Mm-mm.
It's gonna hook you. That brings us to our last category of themes, Mr. Billy Wayne Davis. This movie we've already touched on the themes quite a bit, but for me, envy, mentor, idolization, that's the word I'm looking for, idolizing someone and the dangers and of obsession and exploring that. I don't know, what were your thoughts on the theme?
Well, he says that line early on. I remember him saying the line and being like, that's a good line. But like I didn't think about how profound it was until you but that line of like you trying to be me or be like me. Like that is like as a stand-up, I understand that too,
Sure.
which is like sometimes young comics will come to you and be like, you like this? And you're like, you're just doing me, which is like flattering. It is a goddamn ball of different emotions when that happens because you're like, I see what you're doing and you have the same disease I have. You have the same ailment. So I want to help with that, but don't do my shit. But you do have to learn like how to do it. And the only way to learn how to do it is like watch other people and then just kind of practice. So you don't want to be like, hey, that's mine. Stop it. Because
Right.
they're like, whoa, he was like, my hero's like mad at me because then they'll kill you. You know what I mean? I'm not as mentally ill as Jesse James. So
Luckily for all of us, including
thank thank God.
yeah.
But it is like this mix of flattering and then confusing too, because you're just like, be yourself.
Yeah, you want to nurture the passion, but you want them to blaze their own trail and also not bite your style and step on your.
Yeah, not steal your shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly. Well, and I think it was Francis Ford Coppola who said, the best way to learn how to make movies is just remake other people's movies, which I think he means more from a student standpoint than necessarily from a filmmaker standpoint. I do think there's a lot of value in that, especially from the technical side of things, because a lot of people, I mean, I'm in comedy, you're inspired by work and you kind of reverse engineer it. And so you're
Well,
sort
like
of
that's why the road's so important, and that's why social media fucks it up sometimes. It's like, stop putting it all up. The road's important because you're out there in front of just a live audience, figuring it out, failing.
getting your reps in. Yeah.
Oh, I tried this new joke. Okay, blah, blah. Then someone sees it. I'm like, hey, that's so and so's joke. They're like, oh, fuck, is it? Yeah, I don't think you stole it, but they've already made it, and like, so don't put like all that. And it's like, I think that's what Coppola is saying too, is like,
Right.
yeah, that's how you go put in the reps and the practice. And you're like, okay. And what he's saying, and it's the same thing that fucking hacks and thieves love to take that Picasso thing is like, no, they don't. What they do is they learn everyone's different styles and they learn these different processes and they learn these different fundamentals. And when you learn all these fundamentals, then you know how to twist them all
Mm-hmm.
to make it yours.
You know enough technique. There's another quote that I don't know who said it, but style are the mistakes the artist chooses to make, and it comes
Yes.
after you have such a technical proficiency. You'll let loose in certain areas because that's where you're sort of expressing yourself uniquely. And yeah, if you're uneducated, especially given a particular medium, and you zoom out, it's so easy to just see different artists work is overlapping or various things, but it's and it's obviously impossible to maybe ever know the true intention of an artist. But if you study the craft of any medium, you will start to see who stands out with those technical proficiencies, and that's the difference between the snakes or the sort of liars, so to speak, or kind of the people who are pretending to be something as opposed to just operating
Well,
freely within the medium.
there are those people that are like, wow, what you're doing is amazing. And I could never do that in a million years. But there's some like true geniuses that when people watch it, they leave going, I can do that. I want to do that.
Right. They make it a
I
little
can
easier.
do that.
Yeah.
Nate Bargatze's a friend of mine, and I've always laughed because people are like, he's just talking up there. I'm like, he sure is. That's all he's doing. You fuckheads.
Right. Just words. Yeah.
He's just saying words, and yeah. Mm-hmm. He's doing a spell, is what he's fucking doing.
Yeah.
He's a goddamn genius.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I do got to get a score up for the theme out of you.
That's interesting because it's a true fucking story. And most of it, if you look into it, there's not a whole lot of like dramatic license taken. Most of it is like fairly accurate. Sometimes real life is just like, whoa, this is like right on the money. And like these themes are like, it's like if Shakespeare was like, here, just go to Missouri. Just go to Missouri. Here, we're gonna write this. Just we'll follow these three characters around.
Go to this cave.
And he was like, whoa. And you're like, yeah, you don't even have to write. You just kind of have to like report. Movies usually have to take that slight detour that drives some people crazy when they're like, well, that's not how it really happened. You're like, yeah, but we're doing a 90-minute thing here, and it's a good.
Yeah, this is entertainment.
And if you do it the way it really happened, people, they don't like that. They don't. It's like they need a little, there's relaxing. That's usually where you have to like, do the dramatic, like, but to make it fit into a theme or like these simple things, these like the pacing or like even like the story structure even. But
Sure.
this is like, I see why they're like I said, like I'd only shave like 15 minutes off because I think that's just, I see why, like I said, that I see why it's over 2 hours because it's like, you want to put all this shit in there because you're like, this really fucking happened.
It's good, interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yes, it's crazy. And then you got all these actors nailing it, and you're like, yeah, and we get this dude to do and then and you're like, yeah, totally. Yeah, I bet everyone showed up and they're like, this is crazy. I keep waiting for something bad to happen. You're like, this is the best experience of all our lives.
We're all just cool and successful and the best at what we do, and we have this amazing script and this great.
We're gonna love this movie. This is amazing. And then people were like, how'd it go? No one heard about it.
It turns out the guy who shot our movie shot like 19 of these in the same year. So
Yeah. And they're all this good.
yeah,
Actually,
all,
two of them are better, if
yeah.
you can believe it.
Well, all of that said, is that a 9 then? Maybe a 10 for theme? Or is it lower marks because it's just kind of baked in? I'm not
I
sure.
think it's 10 because
Yeah.
they nail it. That's another part of it when you think about it. Like, you're like, they could have fumbled this pretty bad. They nail it.
Every part of it too. From the performances to the script to the sound design, every aspect of it really is just phenomenal. And well, you've got all your points locked in then, Billy. I'm gonna read them back to you to give you your final score. You gave the plot an 8, the characters and performances a 9, the visual storytelling a 10, the use of sound a 9, and the theme a 10, which is a total of 92. So is that an A plus? Do you want to throw a plus
I
up?
would do A plus. I would give this movie an A plus.
I completely agree. To your 8, I gave the plot a 9. I gave it a little bit better. I gave the characters and performances a 10 to your 9 because I think so much of what we talked about, for me, 10 out of 10. Visual storytelling, I gave it a 10 to your 10. Use of sound, I gave a 10 to your 9. We weren't really that far off. And theme, I gave a 9.5 to your 10. So we were really super close. I gave it a 97 to your 92, also an A plus.
It's awesome.
It's a great, great movie.
I told my wife, she's like, "What do you?" I was like, "I have to watch that," and she was in, like, she worked for Focus and all this other, she's in the business or whatever, and she was like, "Oh, that movie's so good," and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And I was watching, and I was like, "Yeah, she knows that shit. She knows
She's a real one. Yeah.
yeah." Whereas it's like she knows good shit, and she watches just garbage TV.
Which is somehow what's happened in modern culture. I feel like all of my smartest, funniest, most capable friends just watch nothing but horrible reality television. And
They do great work. She
yeah,
does an amazing work. But
yeah,
what
that's what I'm
she
saying.
consumes, sometimes I'm like, this is physical Skittles in your eyeballs. That's better than what you're doing.
That's right. Well, let us know in the comments your favorite reality TV show that we'll have to check out. But Billy, I'm so
And I
glad.
will say sometimes I do sit down and watch while they're fighting. I am curious why they're yelling at each other. That part that I do understand what gets people because sometimes I'm like, why are they that mad? I used to use the reoccurring line like when we were doing something, we get done with some dumb thing that we just filmed or something. And I was like, this is on the Learning Channel, you guys. The Learning Channel. And then the head of the production company was coming one day and they're like, hey, you can't do that joke today. I was like, it's so fun. They're like, yeah, he just doesn't. We can't have fun today. He was like, we just can't do fun today. I was like, all right, I won't be fun.
Well, this was a very fun day, and all because you came to the Jungle, Billy. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you come back sometime if you're touring and you're nearby the jungle. Come through. We could talk about another flick. And
Yes.
listeners should go to bwdtour.com.
Yes.
And you can see where and when Billy's coming near you. For this Lion's Money, I think you're the best comic anyone can go see right now on the road. I got to see you earlier this year in Brooklyn, and it was an awesome show. So go check out Billy whenever he comes near you. And again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Bob. I'll see you soon.
All right, later, brother.
I love you guys.
Real Talk is powered by Real Digital. If you work for a brand or agency producing content, keep it real by setting up a consultation at www.realdigital.media to see how your next campaign can come in ahead of schedule and under budget. Thanks for listening, and if you're going to talk movies, make sure it's Real Talk.